I was 30 years old, a determined and resilient professional woman whose skill, intellect, and relentless effort had guided multiple high-stakes projects to success within the company. Every day at the office came with a new challenge, and I met each one with precision, patience, and insight. Yet, sometimes, hard work doesn't yield immediate recognition. That day, out of nowhere, HR called me in. The conference room door was glass, the lights blindingly bright, exposing every detail of the room and everyone inside. I paused for a moment, hand resting lightly on the handle, peeking in, and saw my manager and HR already seated, their faces adorned with practiced smiles that concealed impatience, judgment, and the thinly veiled dismissal I was about to experience. My heart pounded, but I maintained composure. My manager closed the folder in front of him, calm and deliberate, and said, "Your role has evolved. We're moving in a new direction." I paused, processing the words, aware that what sounded routine was, in fact, a carefully planned execution of someone else's agenda. Then he added, "We're bringing in someone younger, more adaptable." Younger, an innocuous word that diminished years of experience, dedication, and skill. I realized instantly that this was not merely a warning, but a premeditated removal. They told me my current position was no longer critical, that the systems I had built could now be handled by anyone deemed competent. I was instructed to be grateful, as the company was providing a 30-day notice period instead of an immediate termination. I didn't protest. I didn't raise my voice. But I asked a single question: who will prepare the transition plan? He smiled, a composed, rehearsed smile, and replied, "We already have one." In that moment, I understood, they had planned my departure, but they had not calculated the consequences of my absence. I left silently, yet inside me, a resolve began to form. I would remain invisible, yet I would ensure that every misstep, every flaw, every dependency revealed itself in due course. I continued my daily routine, arriving on time, attending meetings, nodding politely, maintaining the appearance of normalcy. But in reality, I had begun the work that mattered most. At night, at home, I opened my old notebooks and technical charts, those I had never shared with anyone. Every undocumented workaround, every emergency fix performed at 2 a.m, every subtle dependency pointing back to a single person, me, was now being carefully noted in my mind. I realized the uncomfortable yet empowering truth: the system did not run on paper alone, it ran on knowledge, judgment, and memory. I did not delete files, nor did I plant any sabotage. I simply stopped intervening. I stopped correcting assumptions. I stopped rescuing minor errors before they were noticed. Slowly, tiny problems began to surface, barely noticeable at first, but gradually compounding into larger, more visible failures. Each small oversight grew naturally, exactly as I had foreseen, without anyone realizing my hand in its orchestration. Every day, I observed silently, recording every detail in my memory, knowing that when the time came, the truth would reveal itself in full clarity. On my final day, I left my desk clean and organized, carefully packing my notebooks and charts. I uttered only one sentence: "Everything important is already documented." It was true, but not the full truth. No one realized that what I had left undocumented, the decisions, the judgment calls, the understanding of how systems responded under pressure, was irreplaceable knowledge. The office remained calm as I walked out, oblivious to the slow, inevitable unraveling that my departure had quietly set in motion. Power, I realized, did not lie merely in authority, but in being the one who understood and could guide outcomes with precision. 9 days after my departure, the first alert struck the system. Minor, almost dismissible, but enough to trigger subtle disruption. 12 days later, the second alert appeared, followed by a full system failure within 3 weeks. The young new hire, bright and capable, struggled. When the system demanded, "Why was this built this way?" there was no answer. Every problem, every misconfiguration, every alert pointed indirectly to my absence. My name wasn't mentioned, but my presence, or lack thereof, was felt in every failing process. I watched quietly, knowing each failure was an extension of the plan I had silently implemented. 2 months later, a phone call came. "Can we talk?" I agreed, but this time, the conversation was on my terms. I was no longer employed there, I worked as a consultant for their competitor. My contract was clear, with one clause standing out: no direct support to my former employer. During the call, I spoke calmly. You were right. I was replaceable. Then, after a pause, I added, just not repeatable. That moment crystallized the lesson they had failed to grasp: real power does not reside in position or title, but in knowledge, preparation, and the silent mastery of one's craft. I had achieved victory quietly, proving that no temporary obstacle or incompetent decision could impede someone who understood, planned, and acted with precision.